Hi everyone, welcome to Dig Primal. I am Alex, I am the owner of this website, and thank you so much for stopping by. Today we are going to be talking about 10 reasons that you might want to think about detoxifying. So this is a really important topic for me personally. I've gotten a lot of benefits from doing detoxes, and later on we'll be talking about another detox that I'll be taking part in shortly with my very good friend Megan from Ginger Nutrition. She's my really good friend. We talk all the time, and I've done detoxes with her in the past, and they are phenomenal. So I'm going to do one again, and it got me thinking, we go along in life and we're exposed to so many things in our water, in our environment, in our homes, from our food, and it's become normal to sometimes feel off kilter and a little bit signs that we're unhealthy, but we miss those signs because it's not something that we know to look for. And so what I came up with is basically a quiz that we're going to do together. I'm going to talk through them, and what I want you to do at home is to keep a tally of the ones that you say yes to. The problem with detoxing signs is that they're relatively non-specific. These aren't things that, like, your fingernails turn orange and for sure you need to detox. They're more subtle than that, and they can be sometimes associated with a multitude of health problems. The way that we know that we need a detox is by combining these symptoms in a big entity and realizing that they come together in groups and let us know what's going on. So for that reason, out of the 10, I want you to keep track. And if you have more than 4 of these, it's a really good indication that you might want to consider doing a detox, or at least focusing on detoxification strategies in your life and in your health routine. Okay? So let's get started. The very first one is something that I think is a little bit more specific than others. When I hear this in my patients, or people that I talk to on the internet, readers, people that listen to my stuff, when I hear them say this, I really, my ears perk up and I really start thinking detox. And this is reactions to smells, medicines, and foods. So make sure to jot this down if this is you, if you fall into this category. This might be things like you're walking through the mall and you know when you get to Bed Bath & Beyond because your nose immediately gets stuffed, you get a headache, you're just really bothered by that smell. Candles, burning candles in your home really bothers you. It might be that you've gone to practitioners, they've given you supplements based on your testing, and when you try to take it, you really can't handle them. You feel awful, you feel worse than you did before. Things like this can be a big tip-off. The other thing is multiple allergies to things or food sensitivities. This is a biggie. If you're saying yes to this, then it's a really good indication that your liver is unable to keep up with the chemical and toxin load that you're exposed to on a regular basis. So when there's an increase in the things that you're exposed to, whether it be new supplements, new foods, new smells, then your body says, I really can't handle this anymore. You have to stop. This is a big one, so make sure you keep track of that. Okay, ready to go on to number 2? Here's number 2, weight loss resistance. This is another big one for a lot of people. Now, a lot of things can contribute to weight loss resistance, but the thing to remember is that many of those things that cause weight loss resistance are also related to our capability to detox the things in our environment and to detox natural compounds. By this, I mean things like hormones. Hormones play a really big role in our ability to lose and maintain a really healthy weight. And so when we begin to not be able to detoxify normal levels of hormones or even abnormal levels of hormones, then we really start to get into trouble. The other hormones that can be related besides the sex hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone are things like insulin, ghrelin, and leptin. These are the things that are responsible for cellular metabolism. So how well can our cells actually open up and absorb sugars and nutrients from the food that we intake and go into our bloodstream? And the signaling hormones, so ghrelin and leptin, are kind of like yin and yang for the signals in our body to say, yes, I'm satiated, that food was nutrient dense, it was caloric, it was good for me, and now I'm done. And the signs that say, all right, I'm really calorie deficient and you need to eat. So when those two get thrown off, a lot of things can go wrong, and the weight loss can become a symptom of that. Now, detoxification can really help with these symptoms, because you start to regulate those other hormones that you maybe were not able to work through before, and that load on your liver improves and you start to see balances. So this is a really key one. Again, like I said, there's a lot of things, these are non-specific, so this one can be because of a lot of reasons, but if you're having this, it might be a tip-off that you need to start thinking about detoxing. All right, ready to go on? This is number 3. So make sure you're keeping track of the ones that you say yes to. All right, so number 3 is a coating on the tongue and bad breath. The coating on our tongue, it happens for a couple of reasons. So the tongue is actually the beginning of our entire GI tract. The GI tract gets toxins from the liver that the liver does phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification. Boy, that word is hard to say sometimes over and over. Detoxification, and when it's done with those, some of them become water soluble. That means they go out in our bloodstream and are excreted by the kidneys, and some of them aren't, and they go into the GI tract and get excreted that way. That's one of the reasons Megan and I are such huge advocates for dealing with constipation when it comes up, because you don't want to be keeping those toxins inside your body. You want to be getting rid of them as much as you can, as quickly as you can. So the white coating on the tongue can be because when we get rid of toxins, it can happen anywhere in the GI tract. Also, the water-soluble toxins that are excreted can also be circulated. You'll notice under the tongue there's a bunch of vessels. The toxins can also be excreted from, there's a lot of vessels, even the ones that we can't see, onto our tongue. So a white coating on our tongue can let us know that there is a lot of deposition of toxins into our GI tract. So it's just like getting a glimmer of what's going on the inside. It's really important to begin to remove this tongue coating, which is why in the detoxes that Megan has put together that I think are just phenomenal, and I've adopted this practice for the long term, is tongue scraping and making sure you're getting rid of that coating whenever you can. Obviously, that tongue coating with the toxins is also filled with debris that we may intake, maybe bacteria that we have, and so bad breath can really accumulate quickly. So mark it down if this applies to you. All right, number 4, we're moving along here. All right, acne, rashes, and rosacea, none of which are fun. So this is a big one for people, especially acne, because it comes up so often for people. Acne, rashes, and rosacea, all 3 of these can be a sign that our bodies are not able to keep up with the toxin load. Now, ironically, when we begin to detoxify, a lot of this stuff can transiently and not temporarily get worse. And that's because initially we have so much toxins built up that our body can't handle. Then as you begin to support your liver and mobilize those toxin stores, sometimes these things can get a little bit worse, but then they get a whole lot better because you're really beginning to move those toxins and then actually be able to get them out. So instead of them being tucked away and stored in our skin, in our tissues, and our fat, all of those things start to get moved out of the body, and those things begin to show rapid improvement. So there is a detox skincare guide that Megan and I have put together recently. It actually just came out today, so if you didn't see it, check that out. But we talk about, in the guide, we have all sorts of remedies for how to deal with this when you come up with this during a detox. And then also Megan and I have extra special videos for the people who choose to do the detox with us, and how to deal with this. So topical things and internally. The thing that we always say is that acne, rashes, and rosacea are an external mirror into an internal problem. So you have to begin to deal with this from the inside out. And so while topical things can help, and there's things you can get at the store and creams and everything, you really have to begin to dig deep into the root cause of what's happening. Detoxifying is one of these major big things that can help with this a great deal. All right, so let's move on. Number 5, fatigue. This is not fun. This is miserable. There are a lot of causes for fatigue, but poor detoxification function is a big role and plays a role for a lot of people. This is because the liver and proper metabolism at the level of the cells is required to make all of the chemicals that we need to be functioning, happy, vibrant human beings. When things go wrong and our cells have stress on them, they're not able to keep up with those functions. They are not able to make those compounds. They are not able to make signaling molecules between cells. They aren't able to upkeep tissues. Things really start to spiral out of control very, very quickly. Liver dysfunction is a big deal in this regard because the liver makes almost all of the proteins that are floating around in our blood and all of those signaling molecules. It's amazing what happens when you look at someone with severe end-stage liver disease, how quickly they get sick and deteriorate because of this problem. Now, you're probably not quite as sick. You're not, you don't have those issues, but things like fatigue can really crop up because you're just not able to keep up with all the metabolic demands that you're requiring. And so fatigue can show up and rapidly improve with detoxification strategies, because all of a sudden you're giving those cells the fuel that they need, you're giving them a break from those toxins, you're mobilizing those stores that they have, you're balancing hormones, all those other things that we've already talked about. And what that means is that people feel a whole lot better with this, and especially fatigue. That's a biggie. All right, so mark that one down if it's you. Okay, number 6. We are getting halfway through, close to the end. So insomnia is a thing that comes up for people quite often when it comes to adrenal fatigue, because of it kind of harkens back to what we already talked about with the hormonal shifts and the metabolic derangements that come from not being able to detoxify properly and having too many toxins built up in your bloodstream. Insomnia usually comes in the form of being able to fall asleep at night but waking up early. So tell me if you can relate to this. You're exhausted during the day, you come home, you crash at 9:30 p.m., you fall asleep for a couple hours, and then at 2 o'clock in the morning you're up and you're anxious, you're thinking about all the things that you have to do, then you fall asleep again at 5, and then your alarm clock goes off at 6, and then you're up again and you're exhausted the whole day. So if you can relate to that, this is a really huge problem and a really big indicator that something is not right with your detox functions, and it's most likely affecting some very key components of the hormonal and endocrine system, and mainly the one that can be not working well is the cortisol levels that are off, and that's why you're waking up early and being anxious and not feeling well. And that has to do because of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, and then ultimately the end product of that is cortisol. So when that begins to get shifted, you can see a lot of insomnia and generally feel very, very ill and very, very crappy during the day. Okay, so mark that one down if it's you. I saw a yes in the corner. All right. Shoot, well, I'm periscoping this. All right. So number 7 is anxiety and depression. Again, very miserable when you're dealing with this. Anxiety and depression can come from some of the hormonal balances that I already mentioned. And because of the neurotransmitter imbalances that come with poor metabolic demand. So when you start to get depleted, both in nutrients and the ability of your body to make the compounds that power functions, a lot of times neurotransmitters in the central nervous system can be altered. And when they're altered, a lot of times anxiety and depression can arise. Also confounding this is that liver dysfunction and gut dysfunction are so intimately related. One can cause the other and vice versa. And serotonin is primarily made at the level of the gut. And so when you're dealing with anxiety and depression and things like that, we can start to begin to pinpoint organ systems that might not be working well. And detoxification is definitely one of those things. Okay, all right. So then we have 3 more. Body odor and excessive sweating. Probably one of the least glamorous things that we've talked about today. Body odor can happen because when you have a massive buildup of toxins, your skin begins to maintain those toxins and have deposition of the toxins, and then you begin to try to mobilize those stores. And so this can be a sign that your body is struggling with those things and it needs to detoxify. Just like with acne and rashes and rosacea, sometimes this can get worse with detoxifying. However, this is actually something we can very much use to our advantage to make sure that process is happening and make sure we're getting rid of toxins through our skin as much as possible. I mean, it's our biggest organ system, and you might as well take it to your advantage. So there's quite a few tips that we're going to have for you in the detox and in that detox skincare guide that we just released on how to best use this to your advantage. But if you're noticing that lately you're using the same deodorant and you've been smelling a little bit more funky than you like to admit or can even remember from the past, then this is definitely a tip off that this detoxifying might be something to think about. All right, number 9, here we come to it. Cravings. This is a big one for people. Cravings can happen for a variety of reasons, but detoxification is one of those things that our bodies begins to not have good hormonal and molecular signaling. When that signaling breaks, it begins to not know exactly what the body is looking for and not know the nutrients and the energy that it's getting. It doesn't know what to do with it because the insulin might be off. Your blood sugar might actually be running much higher than normal. You might not be able to shuttle that sugar and everything into the cell and the nutrients into the cell. So then your body says, I'm deficient, I'm deplete, I need those things. And so you begin to have cravings. So very often this comes from sugar cravings. And people say that they just have intractable cravings, that there's nothing that satisfies them. They can eat an entire chocolate bar. They're going through pints of Ben & Jerry's and they're not feeling satiated. So that's just a sign that your body's not getting the actual cellular nutrients and energy that it needs, but that something else is going on and there's just general dysfunction. Once we begin to detoxify and build up like a robust system of all those signaling molecules, this gets a whole lot better. That and detoxification sort of necessitates that you rework your diet, that you rework the intake of food that you have, and that can help reset you. So that's one of the big benefits of doing a detox, is that it kind of takes you from running into your old general ruts and getting you out of those and making sure you're feeling better and making sure you're cleaning up your environment for your gut health and for everything that you intake. And that's why you do one, to make sure that someone is holding you accountable for doing that. So this can be really helpful for cravings and make those a whole lot better. All right. And then lastly, number 10. This one's pretty miserable if you've ever dealt with this. This one is slightly more rare. That's why I left it for the very end. But if you have autoimmune conditions, a lot of times poor detoxification means that you'll get a lot more flares and they'll be a lot worse. You can also have general symptoms, so things like hair loss, poor skin, poor sleep, fatigue, all those things that we talked about, but in a constellation that kind of looks like an autoimmune disease. If you've ever gone to the doctor and they said, well, I think maybe you have Hashimoto's, but your labs are normal, and maybe you have celiacs, but you don't have positive antibodies. If you've ever been told anything like that, this can be a really big tip-off that there's something going on at the level of your liver and your ability, all the organ systems that are involved in detoxifying. So this is a biggie, and this one can be a really big deal because if you do have autoimmune conditions that are flaring routinely, you're causing a lot of damage in your body. So while this is more rare, out of all of them, this is probably the most clinically serious one that you can have. So if this fits you, then please take it seriously and realize it's something that you might need to work on, in the future, but hopefully sooner rather than later. Okay. So that was 10. I hope you were jotting down which ones that you said yes to. Don't forget, if you got more than 4, out of the 10, you really should be considering strongly doing some sort of detoxifying strategy, whatever that means to you. I did want to tell you about the detox that I'm doing with Megan of Ginger and Nutrition. I think it's phenomenal. I've already done it once. I did it about 1.5 years ago, and now I'm back for more. And I'm actually playing a much more active role this time. I'm going to be one of the moderators, and Megan and I have made 4 extra special videos for all of you that are just bonuses. You just get them for signing up, and we think they're going to be really, really helpful for, Megan has done such a wonderful job with these detoxes. They have recipes that you can cook from. It kind of goes day by day. It simplifies everything. You can just follow them. If you're not a recipe follower, great. You can get some ideas. If not, you just follow them along and you will get through amazingly well. There are 3 phases. There's a pre-phase, a elimination phase, and a transition phase. And she breaks it down so beautifully on all the things that you can do, and then for each, and then tells you how to gracefully transition out, which is half the battle. I mean, a lot of detoxes talk about all the things you can eat and all the things that you're supposed to do, and then they kind of drop you there. And they don't tell you how you transition back to your normal life. But now that we've made all these changes, we want to make sure that you stick to them. And are able to sort of naturally use all of these tips in your daily life. So I think she does a great job with that. I was one of the people that made one of the videos is a frequently asked questions for how to transition back, and just frequently asked questions for adding food in after the elimination diet and all of those things. So it's me, so I can personally attest to that we cover a lot of detail and make sure that anyone doing it is completely set up to get back to where they need to be. So where can you find out more? This is the link. You can always come back to this. Obviously, welcome to Dig Primal, and thank you so much for stopping by. I hope that you join me in the detox, and I would love to see you there. Thanks.